Oh, let me just first start off by saying how thrilled we are to be here at Dixon. It's a fantastic family-owned and operated business. These kinds of jobs that you have here at Dixon are great family-supporting jobs. These are the kinds of great jobs that we want to see more of, that we think we can get with faster economic growth, which will lead from tax reform. So it's great to hear. We just finished a roundtable with the owners and the executives here at Dixon about how tax reform will actually help them grow their business, add more workers. I was just talking to the head of the National Association of Manufacturers. It's the biggest manufacturer trade association in America. Over 14,000 members, which are companies that are manufacturers. 2/3 of their workers that they were surveyed said that they, with tax reform, will buy more plant and equipment and will hire more people. Over half of those surveyed, the manufacturers, said that they'll actually increase base pay if tax reform happens. These are the kinds of things that we know we will get with tax reform and tax relief for middle-class families. That's one of the reasons why we're so focused on getting this done. With that, be happy to take any of your questions. You got a little louder. It's kind of.
I have two questions for you. One on taxes, but one. Sorry.
Hey, you're not used to the microphone, are you? Yeah.
No, and back in D.C. we don't have this, so this is nice. Two questions. One is on taxes, but first on kind of some news of the day. I know you've been asked about these bump stock issue after Las Vegas, and the NRA today came out and said that they support the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms reviewing whether these comply with federal law. So I wanted to clarify, when you say you're open to reviewing this, whether you think that should be done through the Bureau reviing whether it complies or whether this is a vote that
whether
Congress...
regulatory or statutory?
Right.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I didn't know what a bump stock was until this week. So I think a lot of us are coming up to speed, and I'm an avid sportsman. So a lot of us are coming up to speed just what this is. But having said that, fully automatic weapons have been outlawed for many, many years. This seems to be a way of going around that. So obviously we need to look at how we can tighten up the compliance with this law so that fully automatic weapons are banned. We need to go back and figure out how this happened in the first place. So I think there's a big regulatory question. And then we just have to do more research to find out what's the best way to make sure that the spirit of the law is upheld.
Sorry, can I ask the tax question?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And the tax question is, you've been doing a lot of these factory tours with businesses and talking to employers and their employees. But is there more you can be doing to message on the individual side? You did hear from somebody today. Well, how does this affect me? How do you drive that message home to individuals?
You're right about that. There is more, and there's more I obviously plan on doing. We all plan on doing. It's a very, very good question. Do you know who we think about when we think about tax reform and tax relief? We think about the moms and dads who go to bed worrying about the next day whether or not they can make ends meet. We're thinking about the people in this country who are living paycheck to paycheck. So the purpose of tax relief is give middle-income taxpayers a tax cut, give them a tax break. And the things that we're going to be doing that do that, lowering people's tax rates, raising the standard deduction, making it so people can fill out their taxes on a postcard, increasing the child tax credit, removing the marriage penalty, all of those things give middle-income taxpayers a tax cut so they can make ends meet, because there's a lot of economic anxiety among middle-class taxpayers and low-income people in America, and we think we can help relieve that anxiety by cutting people's taxes. That is something that we definitely want to get more into, but the focus of these factory tours is to talk about how we can help these companies be more competitive and how we can help these companies expand and grow and raise wages and hire more people. It all leads to the same end, which is help people become more prosperous, help people get better jobs with bigger paychecks, help the American economy be stronger and healthier. These things are all related, and we're going to talk about all of it. Yeah. It's right here.
Eric Wasson. Eric Wasson in Bloomberg. Two-part text question, very Maryland specific. A study out yesterday shows that if you eliminate the state and local tax deduction, Maryland has the highest percentage of taxpayers who would see a tax increase. Can you update us? Where is your position on this? How firm is the idea of eliminating this entirely? And on the business side, you came and talked about full and immediate expensing here. The Tax Foundation has a study out that says that provides a, quote, sugar high to the economy. It's not as lasting as some had thought. Can you respond to that idea?
I haven't seen the Tax Foundation study. That would surprise me. Their model is very pro-expensing. Their model is a very capital-intensive model. So I haven't read that study, but
okay, but on the general
I'd be kind of
point,
shocked if the Tax Foundation said that.
Do you feel it does provide sustained?
Yeah, so let's get into the, I've spent a lot of my time modeling this stuff. First of all, on your state and local question, I'm not going to get ahead of the Ways and Means Committee. The Ways and Means Committee is going to be writing this bill. But here's the point of what we're trying to do here. By removing loopholes or deductions and raising the standard deduction for everybody and lowering everyone's tax rates, we want to give every middle-income family in America a tax cut. That's the purpose of that. So it's important to look at this in the whole scheme of things in its totality. Lower tax rates, higher standard deductions, higher child tax credits if you have kids. On expensing, the economic evidence is really clear. I would argue that if you encourage a business to buy more equipment, they'll buy more equipment. And if a business buys more equipment, then they'll hire more people to run that equipment. And giving them the incentive to fully expense their purchase of equipment means more equipment is bought, higher productivity, higher wages, faster economic growth. And the model at the Tax Foundation clearly shows that. You may be saying TPC, would be my guess. You're probably saying TPC, which, yeah, okay, so I think TPC has shown their ideological and partisan colors with the fact that they put out an estimate on a mythical tax plan that hasn't been written, that doesn't exist, that they just made up a bunch of assumptions. Yeah, who are you with?
Rob Lang, WBAL Radio in Baltimore. Two-part question. First, to follow up on the first question on guns, do you believe that banning these blocks that are now under review, would that have prevented or at least made what happened in Las Vegas?
Oh, I'm not going to speculate such a strange hypothetical like that. See, you didn't even know what it was called. They're called bump stocks. I didn't even know what these things were like come Monday.
Neither did I.
So the point is, we all have to get more educated as to what these are, how they became available in the first place. Was it a regulatory misstep by ATF some number of years ago? And we all know and believe that fully auto weapons are illegal. And so is this a big gap that needs to be closed? And if so, how to close it? We're all just beginning to go through that analysis.
Very quick.
Yeah, so I just want to give her, yeah. Who are you with?
Meyer with NBC News. Wanted to ask you, do you believe Tim Murphy should resign as soon as today, or should he serve out his term?
I've spoken with Tim quite a bit last couple of days. I think it's appropriate that he moves on to the next chapter of his life, and I think he agrees with that. I won't go into the timing of announcements, but I think it's appropriate that it's in his interest to move on to the next chapter of his life.
And if I can ask you on a different subject, there are reports that the president is supposed to decertify the Iran deal. He might come out with that as soon as next week. Is that a position that you agree with? Mattis and Dunford have both said that it is in the national interest to stay in the Iran deal. Wanted to see where you were on that.
I think I'll let the president make the announcement of what his policy is going to be. I've studied this issue greatly. What we need is a comprehensive Iran strategy, and we have not had one. We did not have one from the last administration. The only comprehensive, to the extent that the last administration had a comprehensive Iran strategy, it was to get a bad deal in JICPOA, in this Iran deal. So I believe the administration is reviewing, much like they did in Afghanistan, what does a comprehensive strategy to deal with the threat facing us and the region from Iran, and that is the strategy they're developing, and I don't want to get ahead of the president, who's going to announce this strategy shortly. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ashley Keller with CNN. Just in light of the president's statement this morning, do you think that congressional intelligence...
Which statement are you talking about? There's a bunch of them.
He questioned whether the Senate Intelligence Committee should investigate what he called fake news outlets. I'm just curious, do you think Congress should get involved in investigating news outlets?
I'm not familiar with the statement. Sorry, I was pretty busy in the House today passing our budget.
Well, do you think that Congress should investigate news outlets
I'm not familiar with the statement. All I'll say is, this thing keeps dropping down. All I'll say is we have a thorough investigation in the House, a thorough investigation in the Senate. and it is to investigate just what happened with respect to Russia and what did they do, they, the Russians, to meddle in our elections and to pass misinformation. So you all know, I think it's been reported that Facebook had Russian advertising. So the question is, to what extent did the Russians try to meddle in our political system like they're doing to other countries? We have to uncover all of that and then equip ourselves with the tools to prevent it from happening again, and then give our allies the ability to prevent the Russians from meddling in their elections. And that does involve whatever it is that the Russians do. Can't speak to what the president said this morning because, frankly, I'm not sure what the statement was. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.